Lesson 8, prove ROI directionally. Measuring return on investment is tricky, and the very mention of it reminds me of the Federal Reserve measuring inflation. It takes the Federal Reserve 2 quarters to tell us what the inflation was 3 quarters ago. Now, why does it take so long? It's complicated and accuracy is very important. The difference between 2.1% and 2.3% can have huge ramifications. But you don't need this accuracy to measure the ROI of your loyalty program. But when you say return on investment, the finance team may be hearing that they need to measure it to that level of detail. And that's going to take a long time. What you really want to know is, does the loyalty program have a positive ROI? Do you have fantastic enrollment? Are you engaging guests? And can you drive top-line sales? We're going to show you how to do that. Here is a simplified ROI equation. It is the number of members times the increase in frequency plus the increase in spend times the variable margin minus the cost of rewards. We can show that this equation is positive by breaking it into pieces. Now, the first thing you should see is that it's driven by the number of members. The more members in the program, the higher the return. That's why we focus so hard in the beginning stages of the program to boost enrollment. Now, the next thing you see is that it's the increase in frequency, and this is usually the biggest increase that we see, that guests come in more frequently, and that's usually higher than the increase in spend. Now, earlier we showed you we could break customers into different segments and show that they were increasing their visit rate over time. This is a great way to prove this portion of the equation. The third major factor is the increase in spend. Let me show you on another graph how we can show that's increasing. One way to prove an increase in spend is to look at the behavior of the loyalty and non-loyalty members. In this graph, we're comparing the average spend at each day part: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The loyalty spend is in blue, and the non-loyal spend is in red. And as you can see, for each day part, the loyalty members are spending more than the non-loyal members. And in this particular case, the customer was very excited about dinner. They wanted to boost their dinner traffic, where they had more capacity and higher margins. And as you can see here, the dinner spend is 15% higher with loyalty guests. So in terms of ROI, don't make it complicated like the Fed. Keep it simple: members, frequency, and spend. Now let's go to our last lesson. Lesson 9, ignore emotion at your peril. Let me share with you a conversation I've never had with a restaurant CMO. Let's meet Jim, our restaurant CMO.
Andrew, the results from the ROI analysis are in. We found that the target market was up 3.7% and the overall ROI was 6.7%. Let's roll nationally.
Seriously? After 100 pilots? Now let me share with you a conversation I've had many times.
Andrew, the ROI is positive. The test market was up more than 2.5% over the control.
Great. So when do we roll nationally?
Well, we really aren't sure that it will work. Let me list the concerns.
Oh. So why does this happen? Despite the analytical success, Jim's organization isn't ready to move out. His concerns aren't analytical. The numbers say go. They're emotional. Somewhere in the organization, they're not sure that loyalty is going to help the organization. And we miss that in the planning process of the pilot. Make sure you find these emotional triggers in the planning process and use them throughout. Because if you can get emotion on your side, the chances for success will be greater. Testing new marketing ideas is how we find the best strategies, and loyalty pilots are no exception. At the end of the day, we're trying to engage guests and drive more revenue. As you're thinking about your new loyalty program, remember, it's about planning, anticipating, and measuring. Don't lose sight of the fact of what you're trying to prove, to whom, and when. Keep your pilot neat, like that bonsai tree you saw earlier. Tell your success stories often, and don't get distracted by a massive ROI analysis. Think number of guests, increase in frequency, and increase in spend. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at Patronics. And thanks for your time.